Wow, the tension is real right now. Have you checked out social media lately? It's practically buzzing with nerves. And hey, I get it. Plenty of skilled chart analysts are still cautioning that a major drop could be on the horizon before things pick up again and we see an upward shift. Buckle up. It's going to be a ride. The buzz among analysts is undeniable. And it's not just about XRP, it's about the entire market. But let's talk XRP specifically for a moment. The chart analysts I follow and trust for good reason remain incredibly optimistic, even in the face of market volatility. Yes, the recent swings might have some investors on edge, but there's a growing belief that XRP could be gearing up for a major move upward. One analyst even went as far as to say XRP has the highest chance of success. Bold claim? Absolutely. But with all the optimism swirling around, it just might be time to keep a close eye on XRP. Let me break it down for you. This is the truth, plain and simple. I genuinely believe it. In fact, here's a solid fact. It's been the best performing coin out of the top 100 since the election. But which has the highest potential? My bet is still on XRP. Why? Because it's been held back for years and is now catching up in a big way. That said, let me be crystal clear. I don't have a financial background. This is not financial advice, and you absolutely shouldn't make any decisions based on what I say, all right? As I record this June 15, 2025, let's talk crypto. XRP is sitting at $2.16 right now, but last night it dipped to $2.11. Meanwhile, Bitcoin, brace yourself, plummeted like clockwork, hitting a low of $104,535 before bouncing back slightly to just over $105,000. Now, what kicked all of this off? If you've been following my channel, you already know. It's the military tensions between Israel and Iran. Let me be clear. I'm not here to dive into the politics or the gravity of war. What I will say is how this has rippled through the crypto market. Spoiler alert, this kind of thing from a market perspective tends to be a blip on the radar, a flash in the pan. There's always something, right? The world shakes, markets react, and then they move on. So while the headlines may be alarming, let's keep perspective. Crypto is no stranger to volatility. It's part of the game. Chart analyst Zoom hits the nail on the head. He puts it bluntly. If you're selling your crypto bags because of the war, you're making a big mistake. His message: zoom out. The charts tell the real story. Crypto marches to its own beat. Sure, there might be a small dip in the short term, but in the long run, nothing changes. We're in a bull market and wave 5 is just around the corner. I couldn't agree more. History has shown us time and time again, every dip, every moment of panic comes with the same chorus of voices saying, this time it's different. But guess what? Never is. Remember when FTX collapsed? Everyone freaked out. That's it. Crypto is done for. No one's going to trust it again. Bitcoin plummeted to around $15,000 and people thought it was game over. Fast forward, and this year, Bitcoin hit an all-time high of $112,000. So much for the end of the world, right? And what about COVID? Back in March 2020, Bitcoin dropped to around $3,000. XRP hit rock bottom at 10 cents, and the doomsday crowd was in full swing. But guess what? I never bought into the this is the end narrative, not for a second. I always believed the market would bounce back sooner rather than later. But of course, there were naysayers everywhere. What are you even talking about? No way the market's bouncing back, bro. The supply chain's wrecked. We're in for years of a bear market. Oh, really? And how did that play out? Let me remind you. Bitcoin may have dipped to $3,000 or cents or $4,000, but a year later, it skyrocketed to nearly $70,000. XRP, it hit 10 cents in March 2020, sure. But fast forward a little over a year, and it was sitting pretty at $2 despite the SEC's attack. Funny how the so-called brilliant ones keep getting proven wrong, and yet here they are, back with more doubt. How's that working out? Spoiler, not great. Same with the tariffs. Sure, it's only been a couple months, but weren't they supposed to shake things up? And yet, did you catch the CPI numbers recently? Lower than what the so-called experts predicted. Now let's talk about the real elephant in the room, the money printer. You've heard of it, right? If not, it's time that Ralph Paul, a former Goldman Sachs exec and the brilliant mind behind Real Vision and Global Macro Investor, has been shouting this from the rooftops. And honestly, he's right. I'll keep amplifying his message every chance I get because it's something everyone needs to hear. The money printer is a game changer, especially in crypto circles. It's a critical metric. and one you absolutely need to understand. If you're into crypto, listen up. No single metric tells the whole story, but this one, it's a game changer. Seriously, it's right there in plain sight. See that black line? That's global M2, basically the most liquid money on the planet. Now, here's the kicker. It's got a 12-week lead over the pink line, which is the price of Bitcoin. When you line those numbers up, what jumps out? A strong correlation. I've been tracking this for over a decade, and time again, Bitcoin tends to follow the direction of global M2. Zoom out and the pattern becomes crystal clear. As global liquidity rises, so does the appetite for risk. And why wouldn't it? In the days of asset prices, as you may know, when people, businesses, and institutions find themselves with more cash on hand, they're not just going to sit on it. As money printers crank up and liquidity surges, that extra cash starts to burn a hole in their pockets. What happens next? They start looking for opportunities. Risk on assets like stocks and crypto suddenly become the hottest ticket in town. More liquidity leads to more appetite for risk, which is why you see investors diving into markets like Bitcoin. Raul shared this chart on your screen, a perfect correlation as expected. He points out that it keeps cruising along, doing its debasement dance. If 89% of Bitcoin's price action is driven by global liquidity, then almost all the news and hype, just noise. Enjoy your weekend. He's spot on. This war talk, the headlines, the narratives, noise, plain and simple. Markets react in the short term, sure, but in the grand scheme, they adapt and life goes on. Do you really think that after more than a decade of this incredibly tight correlation, it just stops now, that it's all over because of some passing reasons? Unlikely. Meet Frecky, a finance pro with decades of experience who's been deep in the crypto world since 2011. He's also been a core part of the XRP community from nearly the beginning. Safe to say, Frecky knows his stuff and plays the long game like a pro. Here's his take. We're at a point where there's not much downside left on certain altcoins. Selling now to try and buy lower could actually carry more risk. The smart move? Hold on to your high quality cryptos and only dollar cost average when building bigger stacks. Always weigh the upside versus the downside. Hashtag crypto state. Here's something worth considering. There's a reason this point stands out to me. While it's clear we're nowhere near a blow off top price wise right now, I mean, seriously, that feels obvious. Let's throw a curveball into the mix. What if XRP's price suddenly gets slashed in half? Imagine it dropping to just over $1. What then? It's a wild thought, but not entirely out of the realm of possibility. The worst case scenario I've come across was from Rakesh Upadhyay over at Cointelegraph. Even he didn't seem fully convinced it would play out, but he laid out some potential support levels. Think $1.60, $1.65, and the scariest, $1.28. Now, I'm not saying this will happen, but it's worth thinking about. Markets love to surprise us. And the question isn't just what if, but how would you handle it if it did? He's basically pointing to a support level. Sure, let's say it even drops close to that, losing about half its value. Fair enough. There's short-term risk, no doubt. But here's the real question. What's the upside if we're right? Are we talking a 5x increase, 10x, maybe even 15x from where we are now? Plenty of analysts seem to think so. So yes, there's risk. Let's talk about risk versus reward in crypto. Sure, there's always a chance you could buy in and bam, the market takes a nosedive the next day. Worst case scenario, your portfolio gets temporarily cut in half. It's not fun, but here's the thing. The crypto pie is still getting bigger. Every day, more money flows into the space, expanding the opportunity for long-term gains. So even if your timing feels off, the bigger picture is working in your favor. Now think about this. Do you want to be on the sidelines while the crypto space continues to grow, or do you want to grab your slice of the pie? History shows us that crypto follows global liquidity trends closely, and the data we've seen across multiple charts suggests something exciting could be on the horizon. In fact, if past cycles are any clue, summer could turn into a major launch pad. Bitcoin's had strong summers before, and this one might just follow the pattern. Back in 2017, we witnessed an epic alt season. That's just historical fact. Typically, summers in the market are uneventful with sideways price action as everyone checks out for vacation mode. But here's the twist. In the fourth year of each cycle, summers tend to heat up, bringing some excitement. And now another chart analyst known as Mustache is throwing his prediction into the mix. His take, altcoins, alt season this summer. It's bold, but I'm intrigued. While nothing's ever guaranteed, I can see the logic behind it. Let's talk about an interesting take from XRP chart analyst Crypto Insight UK. He's sounding a cautionary note while still keeping an eye on the bigger picture. Here's the scoop. He believes we're heading for one last big Bitcoin push, pulling the rest of the market along with it. For XRP, he's predicting something exciting, price discovery mode with double-digit action between $10 and $20. But here's the twist. He's raising a short-term warning flag. He's talking about Bitcoin potentially dipping below 100K before the big rally comes into play. It's a view that's dividing analysts. Some agree it's a strong possibility, while others think it's less likely. Either way, the road ahead could get bumpy before the market rockets upward. So, is it going to happen? Honestly, flip a coin. We'll find out together. But hey, I don't want you blindsided if it does. Some people are going to freak out because let's face it, XRP would take a hit. The whole market could follow, no doubt. And while he does mention XRP, check this out. It's unclear if the low will hit around 97K or creep closer to 100K. Liquidity zones often surprise us, dipping lower than expected, sometimes as a quick wick before snapping back with a sharp buy. On the bright side, liquidity is stacking up nicely above us, and in the short term, it's looking much heftier than what's below. Once this flush plays out, I'm anticipating a sharp, rapid move upward. That's where I believe we're headed. So, hey, it's not all doom and gloom, folks. These things happen. And honestly, I've seen it play out like this countless times before. Maybe we'll get lucky and dodge it. But if not, fingers crossed for what comes next. Here's the exciting part. After this flush, I expect prices to surge faster and harder to the upside than most would predict for this cycle. It could even push Bitcoin beyond 200K, especially after lingering at these levels for so long. With that in mind, I've slightly tweaked my price target. Buckle up, because the next few days could bring some intense market action. We might be in for a sharp, aggressive drop, one of those moves that catches everyone off guard. These kinds of shifts, especially when tied to a strong narrative and sitting near key liquidity zones, tend to hit fast and harder than expected. Most traders probably aren't ready for what's coming. Let's talk XRP. There's a ton of liquidity around the $2 mark, and if that zone gets tapped, we could see a domino effect, driving prices even lower, possibly down to the high $1.80 think $1.89-ish. It's a level worth watching closely. Ethereum isn't off the hook either. With liquidity sitting in the $2,200, $2,300 range, a deeper pullback could push prices down to the $2,100 zone, maybe even $2,122. As I'm recording this, Ethereum sits at $2,513, but there's speculation it might dip a bit further, and he's not alone in that prediction. Here's the kicker. If his flush narrative holds, we could see some short-term moves in these two big altcoins. What about Bitcoin? Well, the forecast there seems a bit softer, a more modest pullback, but here's the interesting part. Could we see Bitcoin dominance edge higher in the near term? It's a perspective worth considering, and one that definitely sparks some curiosity. Many analysts share similar sentiments. Chart analyst X-Force Global, an unapologetic XRP mega bull, acknowledges the possibility of a minor pullback ahead, but don't panic. According to him, as long as Bitcoin holds strong above the 90K mark, any short-term price fluctuations won't shake the bigger macro trend. Here's the thing. Pullbacks and market turbulence aren't just normal. They're essential for any bull market to thrive. Sure, it might feel like a roller coaster ride at times, wild, unpredictable, and nerve-wracking, but remember, this isn't new. Crypto has always been a playground for extreme volatility. The fact that crypto keeps behaving the same way it has for the past 16 years shouldn't come as a shock. Buying crypto doesn't magically erase its volatility. It's not all smooth sailing and endless gains from here. That's just not how this game works. Anytime you invest, you should prepare for the reality that at some unpredictable point, sooner or later, what you just bought might drop in value. But here's the upside. If you're in it for the long haul, the crypto market has a way of expanding over time. Just remember, you probably didn't catch the absolute bottom, and that's okay. Let's be real. You probably didn't time the perfect bottom of the market, and that's okay. Crypto does what it's always done for over a decade. It moves. Sometimes it's exhilarating. Sometimes it's nerve-wracking, but those sudden price drops, that's just part of the ride. No need to act surprised. It's par for the course. Here's the thing. Crypto isn't just some fleeting trend. It's built on real utility, enabling business models that couldn't exist before. It's not going anywhere because people genuinely value what it brings to the table. So when the market gets shaky, don't panic, stay grounded, understand the bigger picture. Crypto keeps evolving, and over time, it proves its worth. Scary dips are just speed bumps on the road to innovation. Chart analyst Steph is Crypto has been sounding the alarm on this one, and now we wait to see if he's onto something. He points out that XRP liquidation pressure is mounting, with $2 standing as the final frontier. His warning, there's a chance XRP could dip that low. Check out this update from chart analyst Cassie Trades. Her insights are worth your attention. Let's zoom in on the XRP/USD chart she's been analyzing. Key support levels to watch: $2, 1 cent, $1.90, and $1.55 are still in play, but resistance at $2.25 is holding strong for now. Here's where it gets exciting. We're heading straight into the apex of a major macro consolidation. That means time is running out and a big move is likely just around the corner. So here we go again, another chart analyst admitting, yeah, we might dip lower. And yeah, it'll probably freak people out when it does. I get it. But here's the kicker. What comes after? A major breakout. Not a single analyst I follow is saying, if this happens, it's game over, the bull market's dead. Not one. Instead, they're saying the exact opposite. If it happens, they're doubling down, loading up on XRP. That's the play. Take Crypto Insight UK, for instance. He's publicly said it. If the dip comes, he's buying big, then it's lift off to the moon. That's the common thread here, folks. But let's be real. At least as of right now, we're not out of the woods yet. This dip, it could still happen. Chart analyst Credible Crypto is back with new insights. And if you've missed his latest YouTube video, here's the scoop. He's doubling down on his warning that we might see another dip in the markets. Yes, a lot of respected analysts are waving the caution flag, and Credible Crypto is no exception. He sees a strong chance that both Bitcoin and XRP could take a tumble. For XRP specifically, he predicts it might drop to around $1, 90 cents, $2. Here's the kicker. He views this as just the calm before the storm, a setup for a massive rebound and a shot at a new all-time high. His confidence hasn't wavered in his video that he still sees XRP smashing past $10 and possibly soaring much higher. He's even talked about XRP peaking somewhere between $20 and $30 this cycle. And here's the bold part. No matter what Bitcoin does, even if it drops below $100,000, his outlook for XRP remains rock solid. Here's a fresh take from chart analyst Dom, and he's diving into Ethereum, a topic that always grabs my attention. Why? Because when Ethereum starts moving, it often signals the start of alt season. But hold up, there's a cautionary note this time. Dom points out that Ethereum has faced 3 rejections at its former bull trend line from 2022. The bulls just haven't managed to reclaim this critical level, which he's repeatedly stressed is pivotal for the entire market. Without a swift recovery in the next week, we could be looking at a deeper dip into the low 2000s. Where have we heard that before, folks? He's not the only one raising the alarm. Crypto Insight UK flagged the same thing for Ethereum. Oh, and guess what? Credible Crypto also mentioned it in this video. Something I forgot to bring up earlier. Interesting, right? The patterns are starting to line up. Then he highlights that this could lead to a market-wide pullback. The next week might be crucial for anyone banking on higher prices this month. And honestly, I agree. If this happens, it won't just hit XRP. It won't stop at Ethereum or Bitcoin. This could ripple across the entire crypto market. Here's a fresh update from chart analyst Dom. This time, it's an intriguing XRP vs US oil chart. Dom's been keeping his thread alive with updates, and here's why it's caught my attention. For quite a while now, the XRP USD chart seems to lag behind XRP US oil by about 2-3 weeks. Whatever moves happen with XRP US oil, the USD price of XRP seems to follow almost like clockwork. Pretty fascinating, right? It's an interesting correlation that definitely raises some eyebrows. All right, folks, gather around. Let's talk about the XRP/US oil chart, everyone's favorite roller coaster ride. After the wild events of the past few days, this pairing has hit its range low for the 10th time. That's right. This range has been holding strong for 195 days now. From day one, the big idea has been simple. If this range finally breaks, we could be looking at a major market shift. Here's the kicker. This range has delivered 9 solid bounces since December, making it a prime spot for another potential rebound. But if it doesn't hold this time, we could start sliding into a fresh downtrend. Are you seeing the pattern yet? Keep an eye on the reaction here. Time and again, US oil pairs have shown a strong track record for predicting USD moves, much like we saw with Bitcoin just 2 months ago. And yes, it's spot on. That's a fact. The pattern holds steady. So let's see how this plays out. Consider this yet another heads up. Big picture, there's still plenty to smile about, folks. Sharing this gem from chart analyst He really nails it. He points out that XRP has historically been the standout altcoin, consistently outperforming Bitcoin despite all the FUD thrown its way. It's the only one to hold a top 3 spot, let alone top 10, since 2013. Higher monthly lows, no obvious downtrend. Let me take a moment to emphasize a fact that not enough people in the crypto space truly grasp. XRP is one of only 3 coins that has consistently held a spot in the top 10 by market cap since its inception. The others, Bitcoin and Ethereum. No other coin can claim that. What's even more remarkable is that XRP maintained this position despite being under relentless attack from the SEC for nearly half a decade. Let that sink in. Half a decade of government scrutiny, and XRP still held its ground in the top 10. Take that, SEC. Pretty incredible, right? Doesn't that tell you something? The fact that XRP weathered all of this, doesn't it speak volumes about what the market thinks of it? It's almost like a silent vote of confidence. And then, as if the universe was nodding in agreement, XRP gained its legal clarity. Oh, and by the way, the United States is now pro-crypto. Looks like Trump winning the election. The whole country's gone pro-crypto, and now the playing field is finally level. And wouldn't you know it, XRP shines. No surprise there. It just works. Simple as that. Then he says, I think XRP has the best chance for long-term success. Honestly, I can't think of anything else that comes close. And yeah, I agree. XRP's potential is unmatched. He also points out something big. Whales have been quietly accumulating for years. I think they absolutely have. And I've been tracking their moves closely. Whatever happens short term, even if it dips, it's no big deal. This isn't derailing the bigger picture. If we have to wait a bit longer, so be it. I'll just outpatient every other human on Earth. That's my role. That's my mission, to be the most patient XRP holder alive. Yes, even more patient than you, especially you listening to this right now. That's my job. Go ahead, try to outlast me, but let's be honest, you've got your work cut out for you. Bring it on. When the time comes where selling makes sense because it's taken over a huge chunk of my net worth, fine, I'll do it. But until then, I'm staying patient and playing the long game. Patience isn't forever, though. When that moment arrives, it's go time. And you know what? I truly believe this market cycle is going to deliver. The best is still ahead, no doubt about it. I stand by it. XRP has the highest shot at success. Believe it, seriously. Now, before you go making decisions, let me say this loud and clear. I'm not a financial advisor. Don't buy or sell anything just because of what I share. Seriously, that would be a terrible, terrible idea.